You know that one person in your life who always leaves you feeling drained, stressed, or somehow smaller than you were before? That's not a coincidence, and it's not your imagination playing tricks on you. Toxic people have a very specific way of making you doubt your own reality. And the scariest part is that it happens so gradually, you don't even notice it until you're already deep in it. The thing about toxic people is that they don't always come wearing a villain's mask. Sometimes they're your closest friend, your coworker who seems helpful on the surface, or even a family member you've known your whole life. They can be charming, funny, and incredibly likable in public. But behind closed doors or in private conversations, something always feels off. Your gut is usually the first one to pick up on it, long before your brain is willing to admit it. One of the biggest signs you're dealing with a toxic person is how you feel after spending time with them. If you constantly walk away from conversations feeling exhausted, anxious, guilty, or confused, that's your body sending you a very clear signal. Healthy relationships should leave you feeling energized, supported, and good about yourself. Not like you just ran an emotional marathon with no finish line in sight. Toxic people are masters at making everything about themselves. You could be going through the hardest time of your life, pouring your heart out, and somehow within 5 minutes the conversation is shifted entirely to their problems, their feelings, their drama. It's not accidental, it's a pattern. And once you start seeing it, you genuinely cannot unsee it, no matter how hard you try. Another classic move is what's called gaslighting, where they make you question your own memory, your feelings, and your perception of events. You'll bring up something they said or did, and suddenly you're the one who's too sensitive, who remembered it wrong, or who's making a big deal out of nothing. Over time, this chips away at your confidence until you stop trusting your own instincts entirely, which is exactly where they want you. Now, the real question is, how do you actually avoid these people? Because knowing they're toxic is one thing, but removing them or protecting yourself from them is a whole different challenge. The first and most important step is trusting yourself again, because toxic people specifically work to destroy that trust, and rebuilding it is the foundation of everything else. Start paying attention to how your body feels around certain people. Your shoulders tense up, your stomach tightens. You feel this low-level dread before meeting them. These are not random sensations. Your nervous system is incredibly smart, and it picks up on unsafe dynamics before your conscious mind does. So when your body says something is wrong, listen to it without apologizing for it. Setting boundaries is the next piece of the puzzle, and it's honestly the hardest part for most people. We've been taught that being a good person means being available, accommodating, and endlessly forgiving. But there is a massive difference between being kind and being a doormat. And toxic people specifically target the people who haven't learned that difference yet. A boundary isn't a wall you build to keep people out forever. It's a line you draw to protect your peace, your energy, and your self-respect. It sounds like saying no to plans when you're not up for it, not responding to messages at midnight, or choosing not to engage when someone is being disrespectful. And here's the thing nobody tells you. When you set a boundary with a toxic person, they will push back hard. That pushback is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's actually proof that the boundary was necessary. A healthy person might be surprised by your boundary, might even feel a little hurt, but they will ultimately respect it. A toxic person will guilt trip you, give you the silent treatment, or tell everyone around you that you've changed and not in a good way. That reaction reveals everything about them and nothing bad about you. Learning to limit your time with certain people is also a very powerful tool. You don't always have the option to completely cut someone off, especially if they're a coworker or family member. But you can absolutely control how much access they have to you. Keep conversations short, Stick to neutral topics, and give yourself an exit strategy before you even walk into a room with them. Stop sharing personal information with people who have shown you they don't handle it with care. Toxic people use your vulnerabilities against you, not always in an obvious or dramatic way, but in small, cutting comments, in jokes that hit just a little too close to home, or in sharing your private struggles with others when it suits them. The less ammunition they have, the less damage they can do. Surround yourself with people who make you feel safe to be exactly who you are, without performance, without editing yourself, without bracing for criticism after every sentence. You will notice such a stark difference in how you feel after spending time with emotionally healthy people compared to toxic ones. It's like finally breathing fresh air after being in a stuffy room for way too long. Work on building your self-worth independently, not through other people's opinions of you. Toxic people have so much power over us, specifically when we're looking to them for validation, for approval, for a sense of belonging. When you start finding that within yourself, their words and actions begin to lose their grip on you. It doesn't happen overnight, but every small step in that direction matters enormously. Therapy or even journaling can be incredibly helpful when you're untangling yourself from toxic relationships. Sometimes you need an outside perspective to help you see patterns you've been too close to notice, or to process the guilt and confusion that comes with distancing yourself from someone who was once important to you. It's not weakness to ask for help with this. It's actually one of the strongest things you can do. One thing people don't talk about enough is the grief that comes with letting go of toxic relationships. Even when someone is genuinely bad for you, there were likely good moments too. Shared memories, inside jokes, a history. Letting that go hurts, and it's okay to feel sad about it. The grief doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It just means you're human and you actually cared. Give yourself permission to outgrow certain people. You are allowed to change, to evolve, to want more for yourself than what certain relationships were offering you. Not everyone who is meant to be in your life for a season is meant to stay forever. And clinging to relationships out of guilt or obligation is one of the saddest ways to spend your energy. Be careful about the guilt tripping that shows up, both from toxic people and from within yourself. We've been so conditioned to put others first that prioritizing our own mental and emotional health can feel selfish. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot show up fully for the people who genuinely love you if you're constantly depleted by those who don't deserve your energy. Watch out for the people who only reach out when they need something. You'll notice that when things are going well in their life, you barely hear from them. But the moment they need a favor, emotional support, or someone to vent to, suddenly they're your best friend again. This is not a two-way relationship. It's a transaction, and you are on the losing end of it every single time. Also be mindful of people who can never genuinely celebrate your wins. If you share good news, and they immediately find a way to minimize it, bring up a problem, compare it to their own achievements, or shift the spotlight back to themselves, take note. A real friend feels happy when you're happy, and that joy should feel effortless and genuine, not forced or immediately complicated. Your energy is one of the most precious things you have, more valuable than your time, more valuable than your money. Once you start treating it that way, you become incredibly selective about who gets access to it. You stop showing up to every drama you're invited to. You stop over-explaining your decisions to people who were never going to understand anyway. And you stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. The goal is not to become cold, untrusting, or closed off to the world. The goal is to become wise enough to know the difference between people who add to your life and people who subtract from it. And the more you practice this discernment, the more natural it becomes, until protecting your peace stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like second nature. Avoiding toxic people is ultimately an act of profound self-love. It says that you believe your time matters, your feelings are valid, your mental health is worth protecting, and you deserve relationships that actually nourish you. It's not about being perfect or never making mistakes in who you trust. It's about learning, adjusting, and continuously choosing yourself without apology. So if there's someone in your life right now who you already know in your gut is not good for you, trust that feeling. You don't need more proof. You don't need their permission. And you don't need everyone around you to agree. You just need to make the decision to value yourself enough to walk away, or at the very least, to stop letting them take up so much space in your life and in your head. Because the moment you do, something shifts. The noise quiets down, the weight lifts, and you start to remember who you actually are when nobody is constantly trying to make you feel like less.